In the White House, he's really split between two groups. The nationalist camp led by Steve Bannon, who have very hard right, aggressive, populist impulses. That is the Donald Trump that ran and won the presidency. But then on the other hand, there is a Trump who comes out of the world of New York real estate, is very insecure, has always longed for the approval of the great power brokers on Wall Street and American government. And Trump has stocked his administration with many of these people who generally fall under the rubric of globalists. So this would include his National Economic Council Chairman Gary Cohn, formerly of Goldman Sachs, his Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, also formerly of Goldman Sachs. The war within the White House during Trump's first 6 months has been a pitched battle between the nationalists and the globalists.
And who is winning?
Well, nobody is really winning is the problem. Trump's legislative agenda has all but collapsed with the death of the Senate health care bill. So while there have been some victories for Bannon's nationalists, primarily cracking down on illegal immigration and taking a much harder line against immigrants generally, there haven't been a lot of victories for either camp. And that's a subject of great concern to everybody around Donald Trump, because when things don't go well, President Trump reacts very badly.
One of the concerns was there was a sort of a fruitcake fringe who were tying themselves to Trump. In fact, Bannon was sometimes attached to that, and in your book you talk about Robert Mercer, the hedge fund guy who financed Bannon and Breitbart, and who certainly had some wacky people, let's say, that he was supporting beforehand. Have the kind of the grown-ups mostly got a grip in the White House, would you say?
No, I don't think that any of Trump's camps of advisors ever have a solid grip on Trump for very long. The cycle we've seen again and again and again, we saw this during the campaign, we've certainly seen it in the White House, is that for a time, advisors will be able to contain Trump, to stop him from tweeting or saying or doing outrageous things, but invariably Trump loses his patience and will go off on a tweet storm or will do something like firing FBI Director James Comey that plunges his administration back into chaos. And chaos has been pretty much the natural state of Trump's White House these first 6 months.
Are there any forces there who think chaos is a kind of a good thing to some extent? It wants to kick things around. It wants to change everything. Is chaos part of the plan?
Steve Bannon has always been a big believer that chaos is good, that it helps Trump. It was during the campaign where Trump unleashed chaos day after day after day. The problem is that when you're in the White House, when you're the president, chaos doesn't actually work for very long. What Trump needs to do, and what he's so far been unable to do, is to organize a congressional coalition of his own party members to pass his legislation.
Tell us a little about egos in the White House, because it was said that Bannon and Trump fell out when Bannon made the cover of Time magazine. I mean, is that really true?
It's absolutely true. I mean, Donald Trump is and always has been deeply insecure, especially about his public portrayal. And after he was elected and Steve Bannon entered the popular imagination as this kind of dark Rasputin pulling the Trump strings, Saturday Night Live here referred to him as President Bannon. This was kind of a running joke. Trump himself took great offense at that, cast Bannon out of his inner circle. The only thing that's brought him back in is the Russia scandal and the fact that that has entangled so many of Trump's senior advisors.
Do you think by the end of 4 years there will be something which we will identifiably be able to call Trumpism, that will be the Trump doctrine or the Trump way?
I think Trump would like there to be, but it's not exactly clear what that would be. I think Steve Bannon and Trump, the candidate, had a pretty clear idea of what Trumpism would be, and it would be a different third-way kind of populism that was less harsh, more geared toward working-class, ordinary American voters than the typical Republican agenda has been. The problem is that as soon as Trump got into the White House, he took up the same conservative agenda of the politicians whom he just vanquished in the GOP nomination fight, and it is kind of wound up in a cul-de-sac where he can't pass the legislation, it's not popular, and so it's not clear that Trump knows where to turn next.
Joshua Green, thank you very much indeed. Thanks.
Thanks so much.